the great way to join politics, that because you don't want to shout, but you want them to hear you and listen. But then, of course, there are some reasons people will think that that's not the good reason to join politics. I always think that we should adapt to whatever that changes, but stay with the goal, always have short and long-term goals. I would say keep your friend. During the difficult time, they are the reason you will stay, and they will be the reason that you won't feel lonely. And you needed that if you are going towards something and working on something.
What is up, guys? My name is Charles Liew. Welcome to BIZ Chat with Charles Liew Season 2. And we're still talking to real business people, in a way, about real business stuff. But hey, why so serious? In this episode, we talk politics. Now, here's the thing, guys. Politics is the foundation of a strong and thriving economy. And today I have someone really special. I've known her for many years. And it is such a privilege for me to actually have her sitting here with me now. And her name is Miss Teck. Welcome on the show.
Thank you.
Now, just a brief background about Miss Teck. She came out in the 14th general election and standing for the seat of Kuching. And so that's when I actually first heard about you, right? And after that, I've been following your growth in terms of politics, in terms of personal growth, in terms of all of the things you have done for the council and things like that. And I feel like, wow, you know, whatever you are doing is so refreshing, because first and foremost, a woman in Malaysia doing the things that you do, I think it's phenomenal. Okay, so let me just quickly ask you this: what made you say, yes, I'll get into politics?
For me, it's more of a natural progression. There's no set date or day that I say, okay, yeah, I will be in politics. But I grew up in an environment where, you know, people talk politics all the time, discuss politics. It's in the dinner table. Okay. The topic of discussion will be something related to politics.
Was anyone in your family in politics?
Yeah, my mom was the woman chief.
Sure.
And was the youth for SUPP party. So, and my dad was the councillor of the Kuching city.
Sure.
So, I know, you know, people like the late DCM, YB Sim.
Yes.
And my mom campaigned for him during elections. So
sure.
My mom was the woman chief for Pending, and he was the Pending candidate. So
sure.
I know him firsthand. And people like Sin Kang Hui, people like Chang San Kai, I know them really well. So it's a natural progression that I was raised and born in that kind of environment. But I think that connections actually come back later on in life.
Sure.
Because I left Malaysia for extended time.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, but by the time I came back, my dad, being a very open-minded 80 years old man, took me everywhere to the campaign for the opposition, actually. He actually wanted me to choose on my own. And as most people who come back from an overseas or somewhere else, you actually are more inclined towards freedoms.
Absolutely.
And so me being me will not accept the current condition, or will not accept whatever, or follow my parents' footsteps.
Yeah.
So I did went through the process of learning and observing, and then go through every press that they release and all this kind of stuff, and asking myself a lot of questions.
When was this, by the way?
That was probably 2013 state election.
Sure. Okay.
And then 2016 the federal elections. Yeah. So I did went through it, and I was participating as a volunteer.
Would you say at that time your mind was already set on joining politics at some point?
Not really. The interest is always there.
Sure.
Yeah, but not really until I ran for a woman chief position in 2017 for SUPP.
Sure.
Yeah, that was probably the more formal process, I would say. I got very active in politics.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Now, have politics disappointed you in any way before we move on? Like, are politics everything you thought it would be?
No, it's much more complex than that. And if you look at the current condition right now in federal, especially, it is a very complex upper level politics that somehow none of us is can predict, or none of us can grasp or understand why certain things change, and it involves a lot of people making changes. So I wouldn't say that it disappoints me in any way.
Yeah.
But I would say that I have expected from, started as a very idealistic. I think a lot of people will be, I wanted to do something for my community. I want to do something. I want to make changes, to a way that you understand a lot of, as you get involved, you will deal with bureaucracy, you deal with institution, and then you find out that whatever that you need to do, it's actually a work of many people and a work of many party involved.
Sure.
And that's how you learn how to manage people, how to be an ally, and how do you manage yourself so you can achieve the goal. But the goal is still the same.
Yeah.
It's just that how do you go about and achieving that, and how do you hope that you should not lose yourself in the midst of politics.
I like that last line, losing yourself. Now, let me ask you this. Have there been instances where you struggle with your own personal values and sauntering very carefully along party lines? Have you faced these kind of conflicts before?
Personal value, not really.
Okay.
I felt like, in my age, or maybe we were shielded by our party leaders, that they become the safety nets for us to fall.
Sure.
It makes us become more courageous.
Yeah.
We are free to say it.
Moving on, before we go to the break, a lot of young people get into politics for the wrong reasons. I think this is in line with the first question. So, why you got into politics, why I decided not to. So a lot of young people today get into politics for the wrong reasons. What do you think?
I would not think that anyone join politics for the wrong reason. I'll say that everyone have probably some reason to join, from personally liking, whatever the platform offer. For example, the voice that you can, that not just being heard but listened to. So that's, I think, the great way to join politics. That because you don't want to shout, but you want them to hear you and listen. But then, of course, there are some reason people will think that that's not the good reason to join politics. But personally, I think so long as you do not join politics because of someone. For me, if you join politics because of someone's great work, that leader, and most likely are older than you will eventually leave. And what happened to you? But because your only reason is that person, and the person can leave. So focus on what do you want to come out with. Why? It's focus on yourself. Focus on why you want to join. And why you want to be the change that you probably want to see.
Yep.
And that's the platform. That's how the that's why you join politics for that platform.
Yep.
So so long as it is not because of, I would say, so long as that reason is not because of someone. Because if people leave and people go, people can pass away.
Sure.
And you might lose your reason to stay there.
Yeah.
Then that itself,
Okay.
And the rest, we cannot judge.
Do you think some people join politics for the opportunities it presents in terms of financial gains and things like that?
I would think that because people join an organization, not just politics, for the connections of establishing business, getting some opportunity. So I would think that it is the same way. Some youth, especially youth, they join politics because of the connection. They wanted to meet more people so that they have more opportunity in the business. So in that sense, I would not see it as in a bad way.
So that wouldn't be a wrong reason to join.
Yeah. Okay. I think that would be a networking. You learn, and then you learn in the process.
Sure.
And hopefully you find a reason to give back. If you have something, you have gained something out of it. Yeah. And I think that it's up to someone to actually value, always look back at what is your own value then. And that is very personal.
Sure.
And in that sense, we heard a lot of really, really bad things about politics. And one of the challenges I would say is to how do you restore the faith of politics then? That is one of our challenge. Yeah.
Okay. Before we go to the break, just a final thing. What percentage do you think? It's very hard. It's so abstract. So, do you think people join politics because of the change they want to make and the change they want to see?
I think at the tipping point of changing government, you see that the PH taking over the government. There's a lot of hopes. And a lot of people's the momentum was up there, and people were powered by that hopes and dreams of changing Malaysia and all this kind of stuff. And I think that actually attract a lot of people. So, but I will not know about the percentage.
Guys, we'll go to a break. When we come back, we'll talk more with Miss Call. Back to BIZ Chat with Charles Liew Season 2, and we're still with Core Teck 1. There's a distinct lack of understanding in the country as to just how politics work, right? So because political and legal studies is not one of the key subjects in Malaysia in school, right? So what do you think about this?
I think generally yes, because it's through educations and because there is a lack of political study in our education and syllabus. So people will be, unless something happened to them or they need to solve some problem, then they will find out how the political system works. Else, it has nothing to do with them, and most people just go through their life, don't even bother me. I don't even want to vote.
Yeah.
That kind of mentality. There is a lack of understanding, but in a way, we are also trying to work on it. I think back in pre-COVID, my party president and us was discussing about even having a youth counselors, a group of youth counselors in each council, so that they will understand. Counselors in a way, in our system, we have counselors as a policymaker. Then we have a city executive wing that execute it. So if we have a youth counselors, for example, then they will learn how things are working. And it's actually a training ground to become a counselor, and eventually a training ground to become a future politician, for example.
Sure.
So that is how we try to work in a real world per se, that you actually practice it when you become a youth counselor. And that's something that we actually try to work on it, but it was stopped because of the pandemic. So
when we talk about that, we are talking more to do with the bureaucratic process, right?
Yeah.
So, but how about when we talk about, say, for example, at a macro level, in terms of the need for a strong opposition, for example, because we are a two-party system kind of government. I think you guys would probably appreciate just listening to Teck 1 that she's a strong, independent woman, okay? Just a little bit of background. She went to study in the United States at Oklahoma State. After that, you were working in Arkansas. After 13 to 14 years, she came back to help SEB with the information security. Yeah, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she was the info security architect for SEB, and now she's working solo as a consultant, right? So fascinating stuff. Now, here's the thing. The IT industry, dominated by men. Politics, dominated by men. You maybe you don't struggle with it now, but so how did you overcome this inferiority complex, if there was ever inferiority complex?
I have a very short answer for that. Is that I don't even realize that I'm different.
Like, say for example, if you get to a meeting table, for example, all men, you are the woman on the table, at the table. Do you feel anything at all, like any less maybe, or intimidated? Yeah, maybe?
That's what I think. I think that the barrier has been broken. For the girls or the women before me, in politics or in the corporate world. So I no longer see that as a ceiling or a barrier. And the other thing is that I'm probably fortunate enough to be in a community of in the States, that in a corporate world that the skill is more important.
Sure.
Your competency, your reputation is more important than your gender. And the feelings that I never felt that I was any different, because I actually went to engineering school.
Yeah.
So in engineering school, you're dealing with lots of
Yeah.
male
Yes.
classmates. So that can become natural. So I don't see myself. I mean, that, it's just that way. I don't even know how to
That's pretty
teach
cool.
anyone.
That's interesting.
Discuss what we need to do.
So you've never encountered any gender bias ever?
I would say yes, gender bias, especially in the security, information security.
Sure.
There are some sections that we actually involve in that is physical security, and people will say, oh, if you are doing this, then you have to, talk to some other people that you have to do background check, for example.
Sure.
And then you have to talk to security guard and all this kind of stuff. And how do you manage all of them? Yeah. But in that sense, it's just the person that asking the question that is having that, I would say, stereotype. And that is that person, that one person itself. And it's not the whole, the community or the whole company that is discriminating against us. So in that sense, I felt like don't take it too personally.
Yeah.
There are bound to be incidents like that anyway. There will be a challenge that a man be facing anyway.
Oh yeah.
So just
That's brilliant.
It's realistic.
Like I think like all over the world right now, right, there is a huge push for equality, whatever that means, right? So, when it comes to gender pay gap, for example, when it comes to, in terms of like even airtime for male and female, when it comes to the media and things like that, you see, I always look at this and I look at Malaysia being the country that we are, a culture where women are meant to be inferior to men, and that is how it's set up, right? So I think for you to be able to see that, hey, you know what? There's I've never felt out of place before. I think like that. I think that's a fantastic way to start for you to actually break down walls. Do you even see that you're breaking down walls here?
Yeah, that's why I say. I mean, you went into the room because you have the objective that you need to solve this problem. So you couldn't even. I mean, as I said, it's very bad for me. I can do multitasking. I cannot multitask well. So I suppose that is probably another way that I focus on what that need to be done.
I guess you let your work do your talking for you, right? I mean, you just prove them. You just prove it with the result that you get, or no? Do you have to work harder? Do you have to work harder than your male counterparts sometimes?
I mean, I don't really compare male to female. I would think that if you want to achieve something, then you owe it to yourself to work harder. And if you think that there is anything that is lacking, the best way is probably to just open up the conversation.
Sure.
Being Asian, I think have a lot of Asian, I would say, that have that a bit of challenge on that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and being very open about a certain issue.
Yeah.
But I think that training come handy for me to just say it.
So when you say that training, it comes from not just the political background within the family, but the fact that you also spend a lot of time overseas, and you have been exposed to a lot of these cultural shifts when you were overseas, so that when you came back, you're just ready to go.
Just go into the room and start the meeting.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
So we'll go to a break, guys. When we come back, we'll finish up with some very simple questions about challenges personally when it comes to politics in the state as well. So we'll be right back. Back to BIZ Chat with Charles Liew Season 2, and we're in the last segment with Teck 1. Let me ask you this. What are the challenges Sarawak face in terms of politics, in your view?
In my view, I think there are external challenges and internal challenges. As a state within Malaysia, you see that we have only 31 seats, parliamentary seats, out of the 222, which is about 18%.
Yep.
And if you look at the current condition, how do you make yourself relevant?
Sure.
That's a huge challenge.
Okay.
And in the matter of constitutional change, for example, you need a two-third majority to change it. And so how this, and not even 32 vote, because GPS, we only have 18.
Yeah.
So how this 8% then become relevant?
Yeah.
And it took our politicians and our state leader to I would say, form ally and to convince your partner to accept and propose and support your initiative and your proposal and your to accept your request and say okay. So,
wait, hang on. Are we talking about MA63?
we're talking a little bit about MA63, but
Okay.
we are talking a lot beyond.
Sorry, we're
MA63.
focusing on some keywords here. So
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. So we're talking about how a minority, we as a minority in Sarawak,
yeah.
convince the whole Malaysia to get what we want.
Yeah.
So that is a huge challenge. And with the dynamic changes, we'll see that currently we do, being a minority, we do have that power
Yeah.
to change.
Yeah.
And how do we maintain it then?
Sure.
And so that is the challenge that we have.
Yeah.
And then internally, I'll say that how do we maintain and enhance and make it better in terms of our diversity and unity. Unity in diversity. How do you maintain and how do you strengthen it? How do you make it better? How do you get Sarawakian to be more united and realizing that we have contribute 10% or more to the national GDP?
Yeah.
And how do we get it back as a collective power
Yeah.
within ourselves, that people have to realize that we have to fight for it.
Yeah.
And then how do we get the Sarawakian to be united so that they can be in line with us in terms of political goal.
Sure.
So those, and then how do we not lose it? How do we maintain the unity within our community?
What does the future hold for Teck 1?
You know, when you give me that question, it's very hard.
It's not for you, it's for Teck 1, the brand.
Yeah, you cannot predict the future, but I think mine is always work in progress. So the future is always work in progress. You will see me always work in progress.
Are you going to come out to stand for election again?
I am working on it. Yeah, but I don't know. As I say, it's not me to say that this is what I want. I definitely need to get it, or I definitely want it. So, but we're working on it, and my team is working on it. So the future is always work in progress, even in IT, even in politically. I always think that we should adapt to whatever that changes, but stay with the goal. Always have short and long-term goals.
Yeah. What are your 3 pieces of advice the change makers out there? 3.
Well, I was trying to think about it.
1.
I would say keep your friend. During the difficult time, they are the reason you will stay, and they will be the reason that you won't feel lonely. And you needed that if you are going towards something and working on something. And
friends on the same,
they have to share your same goal.
Sure.
Yeah. So keep your friend. Don't forget your friend, even during the time when you were successful.
Sure.
So that I will say that.
Yeah.
And find your passion in what you do best. Not only what you do best, but find your passion. Love it, and do it the best. Give it the best that you can.
What's your passion?
IT is always one of my and I like teamwork actually. I mean the teamwork, the process that is the main reason why I keep going.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So in politics, I would say that it's the team that keep me going.
Sure.
And we all have the same goal, and this is what we want to do. And
Yes.
this is that's I think that is elements.
Yeah.
So so that, and number 3.
I love it.
If you are in an environment where the environment cannot allow you to make any mistake, then that is also another environment that is not healthy for you. So don't be afraid to push the button.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to make mistake.
Yeah.
And a good leader will accept your mistake, and you learn it. It's a wonderful and the most valuable lesson.
Now, guys, we're at the end of the interview. I think from this conversation, I think you would understand just a little bit about the challenges that we are facing in Sarawak when it comes to politics, but also some of the blessings. I mean, we have fantastic people like Teck 1 here, who is making ripples, I feel. Not just from the fact that she is a very vocal politician, but also the fact that she is a very strong woman that is inspiring. Even I think my PA standing there, So I think that is just remarkable. I think for change makers out there, here's an advice for you guys. I think whatever she said is brilliant. Go forth, be the change you want to see, honestly, because there's no right or wrong at the end of the day. For sure, there'll be resistance from the people around you because they don't want to lose you, right? When you are going out to make meaning in the world, you may lose some friends, you may lose some family members, but hey, that's just the cost that, if whatever you're striving for, the price is worth it, pay that price, and then you'll be able to see that change. So until the next episode, it's a bye from us.